New details emerging over that deadly helicopter crash into New York City's East River. You see the helicopter going down there. All 5 passengers, sadly, were killed. The pilot, the only survivor. We are now learning what may have caused the crash. CNN correspondent Allison Kosick is on the story at the site there of the crash. So, Allison, what are you hearing about the possible cause? I heard it may have been caused by one of the bags that the passengers had.
That is what we are hearing, Susan. Let me first set the scene for you. Behind me, there's a lot of activity going on in the East River here. Boats from the New York Police Department moving through the water. To my right, you could also see National Transportation Safety Board investigators there on a dock. And on my left, you see a crane. We're not sure if that's the one that's looking to pull the helicopter out of the water, but we have been watching this crane circle around for hours and hours now. So part of the investigation that's going to happen here for the NTSB is to look at the helicopter once they get it out of the water. The other part of the investigation is what you alluded to, is to talk to the pilot, 33-year-old Richard Vance. He's the sole survivor of this helicopter crash, and he told investigators earlier today that he thinks that a passenger may have inadvertently, with their bag, pushed on an emergency fuel shutoff button that could have caused the helicopter to crash. But when this happened, all the trouble started, and there was a Mayday call that the pilot put into LaGuardia Airport. I want you to listen to it.
Early Motel, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday.
Early Motel, LaGuardia, you okay?
East River engine failure.
I'm sorry, say again?
East River engine failure.
They come a little broken. Say it one more time.
He had an engine failure over the East River, Lima Hotel.
Okay, you require any assistance?
It was a Mayday call, LaGuardia.
But that helicopter went down anyway into the East River, hitting the water and then flipping over, taking on water. Witnesses say they describe it as the helicopter coming down like a rock. Another one saying they heard the red helicopter make a sputtering sound. Another witness saying after the helicopter hit the water and flipped over, she saw the pilot, we now know, climb to the top of the helicopter and wave his hands for help. Inside the helicopter, 5 passengers who had chartered the helicopter from Liberty Helicopters. That's a New Jersey-based company. They chartered it for an apparent photo shoot. We're learning a little bit more about who was inside. We're learning that one of the victims, 28-year-old from Argentina, here in New York on vacation. When that helicopter hit, we learned that 2 people died here at the scene, 3 people died at the hospital. Susan?
It is just so sad when you think about those passengers on board just wanting to see the sights in New York City for a photo shoot. I understand they were harnessed in at the time. Some of them survived by getting out of the helicopter, but then died at the hospital?
Right. So investigators are saying that one of the more difficult parts of the rescue when they got to the scene here was actually getting those passengers out of that helicopter, because their harnesses were fastened so tight that they had to be cut out of those harnesses to get them out. Obviously, the pilot was able to free himself and wave his hands for help on top of the chopper, but not the same case for those 5 people.
Allison Kosick, thank you so much. Live right near the crash site. I do want to bring in DavidSoucie now, CNN safety analyst and former FAA safety inspector. He's also the author of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, and there is a shot of his book there. So, David, when you hear about this and the pilot saying, okay, this is what may have caused it, I know in flights when they go down or helicopters, sometimes it takes weeks for the NTSB to find out what went wrong. Could the pilot be right, though? Obviously, he was on board at the time.
Yeah, and it is rare that the information comes out that quickly, but this pilot, I need to make a note of the fact that he did a very good job of trying to, although the outcome it was certainly tragic, but he did a good job of doing the auto rotation when the engine quits to be able to put the rotor down, gain some speed, and then land it. And it landed very textbook. It really, he pulled the power in just at the right time. But what happened was after it flipped over and trapped the passengers, so that is really the question in hand.
I was
But the
going to
cause,
mention
like you
that
said,
because the landing looked like that maybe, hey, everyone could survive this when you first see it
Yeah.
go down because it seems like a smooth landing. What is the emergency fuel shutoff button, and is it that accessible?
Well, it is accessible. However, there's a couple of things to it. There isn't really a button. It's an actual lever. And the lever has a safety catch on it that you have to pull up first to put it forward. But it is located in an area where passengers, if they're not careful with where their bags are, if they're getting their photography equipment out, that sort of thing, it can catch that. And indeed, that's a plausible explanation for why that engine quit.
There's been a couple helicopter crashes. There was one, I believe, in 2007 on the Hudson, and everyone survived. They had life jackets on at the time. It seems like there should be something that if you are harnessed in that is designed to protect the passengers, that you can get out fairly quickly if a crash does occur. They should be trained to do that. We're all on commercial flights and we hear what to do if it does go down. Do they hear the same thing?
They do. There's supposed to be a safety briefing, and Liberty Helicopter's been around a long time. I'm certain that they did this. They do a safety briefing, but it's difficult to say in an emergency situation if you remember that safety briefing or not. And that's one of the things we do as passengers is not really understand at the time that you're getting that safety briefing just how important it is. Because once you're in an emergency situation, it doesn't just automatically come to you that said, let's see, what did the guy say? I'm supposed to turn this and move that. And so we see this quite often, especially in water landings and ditchings, where you just can't think properly. There's so much going on immediately, and you're in shock from the cold. Your brain just doesn't work the way it needs to. And so getting out of those safety harnesses when it seems completely simple, when you get in there and you take your safety briefing, but when you're in that situation, it's not that simple.
I can't imagine under the water, upside down, trying to remember what someone had told you. DavidSoucie, thank you.
Okay, thank you.